Girls are also responsible for their own rape, and that's why they get raped.
When girls smile at boys, they become attracted to them. So that's why they get raped.
Girls roam the streets to have fun. That's why they shouldn't leave their house unless they have work to do.
Girls wear jeans and other provocative clothing, which is why they attract boys, and that's why they get raped.
No one can do anything to you without your consent. Rape is not possible.
Why does the boy get punished when a girl gets raped? It's mutual. Why does the girl become free?
I'm Christina Sundari.
And I'm Shikha Sharma.
And today we're going to be talking about rape.
Let's start off with that last quote. Why do the girls get to roam free when a boy is put in jail for rape? Tell me what freedom these women have in the Indian culture, in Indian societies, in Indian households, when the woman or the girl or the daughter or the sister or the mother or the aunt are the honor of their home. What freedom do these women live with when families are willing to disown them, go to the extent of killing them if they are raped? Because if the society gets to know what these women went through, nobody will marry them. Nobody will marry anyone in their family. So what freedom do these women live with that these men are talking about when they say that this rape was consensual?
Where does that mentality come from? I don't understand. I mean, it's not something that, I mean, we just it magically appears. I mean, this has got to come from somewhere in history, maybe older generations, perhaps. So I would say, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the way our parents and grandparents have maybe taught us certain things. I can confidently say, just kind of based on what I've seen, I've heard older people say, women should not be wearing short sleeve shirts. Women should not be wearing dresses. My grandmother used to tell me not to wear tank tops in the house.
In the house?
And I'm at home. Yeah, she used to tell me not to wear tank tops in the house. And this is present day. You know, this happened maybe when I was 9, 10 years old. So this didn't happen that long ago. So you would think that some sort of an attitude like this might have happened years ago, but it's still very prevalent today, I would say.
All of the things you guys heard us just say and start out with were actual words that were said by both men and women in older generations and current societies. Older generations are still stuck in the mindset that nothing can happen to a woman unless she approves it.
When we were trying to figure out how to best talk about rape today, Shikha and I did a lot of research. We did a lot of homework. We watched a lot of videos. And one video that really stood out to me was watching this older Indian man.
He must have been in his 80s.
He had to have been in his 80s. He had, he was missing some teeth. And he said, it takes 2 to clap. And I sat there and I just said, well, no wonder this is such a big problem, such an intense problem in our culture. It's because older generations are feeding this to us. They continue to feed this to us. And if this is what an 80-year-old man is saying, imagine what someone in their 50s is saying, or someone maybe in their 20s.
These same people are saying things like, when a woman turns 14 or 15 years old, it's not rape anymore. It's consensual. When a husband and wife get together, there is no such thing as rape if the man wants it. What is a third person to say about rape between a husband and a wife? Mm-hmm. These same people are feeding these archaic ideologies forward to newer generations. Some of the people that we listened to, that we read about, were school-age boys and school-age girls, where teachers were telling them, don't become friends with boys because that's how you invite rape. Where boys were saying, women should not, you know why they get raped? Because they leave the house to have fun. And they should only leave the house if there's important work to do. Mm-hmm. So when they leave the house and it's not important and they have cell phones, they're inviting rape.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of this can go back to, and we've talked about this on previous shows too, is the way that boys and girls are raised. So if you take a look at culture, I can say this because I've seen this happen to boys in my family. when they're being raised, they're raised to be empowered. They are raised to believe that they can do anything, that they're powerful, that they're strong, that they have a place in the world, and whatever they want, they can go and take it. Whereas women, I think, are raised a little bit differently. We are raised to be a little bit more submissive. We are taught, we're given dolls when we're 5 years old. We're given Barbies. And so we're taught to just sit there and look pretty and act pretty and play that role. So if you think about it and then we get older, that mentality doesn't go away. It just kind of evolves and changes itself into many different things. And I hate to say this, but that old school mentality is what is leading to gang rape in countries like India.
India is one of the, I want to say it's one of the most affected countries by gang rape. And we thought about this, excuse me, we've said, where does it start? Where does it begin? Where does that mentality begin? Where do these men and these women and these young girls start thinking that being raped is their fault? Because the number one thing that you hear, I think, and that's whether that's in India or whether that's here, is that you blame the victim. Mm-hmm. You invited it. We as women invite rape with what we wear, with the way we speak, with the strength we carry, think about it in your work culture. A determined man who's successful is sexy. A determined woman who is successful is a bitch, right?
Yep. You and I both worked corporate. We both have experienced it. We've seen it firsthand. It's really, really sad. And I think that has prevented, I can't say all women, but it's definitely prevented a lot of women, I'm sure, from advancing to further steps in their career.
Why should I be afraid, or any woman? And we're gonna talk a lot about India because this is it's very prevalent and it's a huge problem in India. Mm-hmm. Why are women afraid to leave the house in big cities like New Delhi after 10 p.m.? Mm-hmm. Why are they being told that because they leave, they invite these actions? Why is it not the boys and the men, the sons, that are told to protect those women, not to attack them, mm-hmm. to watch out for the women on the street if you see them out, and not think that it's an opportunity for you to do something and get away with it because they deserve it? Mm-hmm. India is it's a patriarchal society. There's male supremacy. Men are empowered from a very young age. They are given a lot more permission from a very young age. They're given a lot more preferential treatment. And they are preferred overall. Mm-hmm. Every Indian family, maybe not every, but the majority of Indian families, and whether that's in an educated household, in a big city or a rural area, prefers to have a boy. Because if they have a girl, it's considered a burden. Now you have to, you shouldn't, or you wouldn't, or you can't afford it to educate them. And if you can't educate them and make them good, productive members of society, who's going to marry them? And if they're going to get married, you have to pay dowry. Now, depending on how great that guy is, even though he's not, there's a certain amount of dowry that goes to, how am I going to afford bringing up this girl? Mm-hmm. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to kill her at birth. Mm-hmm. And what is that? What is that problem? Female feticide, mm-hmm. which is still extremely prevalent in India. So we talk about male supremacy. We talk about female feticide. And then what does that eventually come to? It comes to an uneven ratio of men and women. Mm-hmm.
There's about 10 men to every 8 women in India.
So there's clearly a lack of women available to men. Mm-hmm. So what's the effect?
Gang rape.
Gang rape.
And when we were first researching this topic, Shikha and I were both honestly curious. We said, why is it that we hear so many of these stories coming from India? And for us, being of Indian descent, it's extremely painful to have to hear that these things are happening in our motherland.
In our community.
Yeah, like it's very sad. And to be frank, it's very embarrassing. And this is one of the reasons why sometimes I'm ashamed to say that I'm Indian. Because look at what my culture is doing. And look at the way women are being treated. And as I'd like to say that I'm a pretty strong and independent woman, I think we can both confidently say that. But at the end of the day, if Shikha and I were walking out on the street in India and we were attacked by 10 guys,
how are we going to fight?
How can we fight back?
And you know, People say that's not possible. Rape is not possible. Gang rape is not possible. There are interviews with police officers that were done in India where police officers say rape is not possible without the consent of a woman. No one can talk to you unless you let them. Mm-hmm. No one can touch you unless you want them to.
And they'll say that rape is a woman's fault.
It's a woman's
because
fault.
She, as Shikha said, invited it.
Yes. And not just that. These same police officers, when questioned, what about abductions? What about when these women are picked up off the street? What about when the 23-year-old college student in Gurgaon, which is very close to Delhi, was picked up in a moving car and raped and thrown on the floor? And you know what he said? There's no such thing. Those things don't happen. What about Nirbhaya? If you all remember,
she was the doctor who was on the bus with her boyfriend.
Yes.
She was gang raped, and then her body was chucked from the bus completely naked.
There were 6 men in that bus. And 11 days after her rape, she was transported to Singapore, and she died of such brutal injuries we don't even want to discuss because they are heinous and because it's just disrespectful to her. We don't even want to give those rapists the satisfaction of knowing that we're going to talk about what they did to these victims. Mm-hmm. So people like Nirbhaya, who actually, when that happened, started huge protests in Delhi. And there was a committee that sent in 80,000 suggestions as to why women are going through such crimes. And the result of those suggestions and that the consensus that was made after all the research was that there is corrupt politicians and corrupt police enforcement, mm-hmm. which is why women face these acts, because they are not taken care of.
And I think we could see that that's a great example by what happened to Asifa.
Yes.
Back in January. And we had just touched on it last week on our show because it was back in the news because these 8 men got convicted. And there was a lot of controversy over what was happening to them because a lot of them were government officials. There were police officers involved. So that just goes to show you how flawed our system is in India. And I do say our because I still feel like India is very much a part of me, even though I was born and raised here, but that's still where I come from and it's still my culture. And I don't like to have to talk about these kinds of things with people, especially when I am Indian, and then it's such a terrible representation of our culture. And I don't think that we're truly like that. I just think that there are some fundamental flaws with the way girls and boys are raised and with and this goes back to what we had previously said, with how older generations are conditioning us for the future.
I want to take a comment that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Neha, a girlfriend of mine, says that one of the main discrepancies that happens due to this male to female ratio is that in smaller villages, girls are being sold off by their parents and their brothers because of these ratios to protect them from rape and things like that. What's really interesting is there was a suggestion in a rural village in India that said, how about child marriages to solve the problem? Mm-hmm. So that's how skewed the thinking is.
That's going to solve a problem.
Let's either kill our women or let's sell them or let's marry them off at a young age, because only then will they be safe from rape.
I'm laughing because that just sounds ridiculous and so archaic. You guys, we're living in the 21st century. Why is it that we're still trying to pick up these, I don't know, like solutions from, 1800 BC?
It's not a solution.
That's why I did this.
Yeah.
Because it's not a solution at all.
It's men not taking responsibility for actions. It's sell the girl, marry her off at a young age, mm-hmm. or kill her. That's what I said, right? Those are the 3 things. Not raise our boys to protect their mothers and their sisters and their friends. Not raise our boys to understand the value of women, the woman who gave birth to them, the reason that they exist. Okay? Not to tell these boys to stand up for these women when they see other men and other boys eve teasing, touching when it's not appropriate, not listening to the word no. You know what? I once heard no is a complete sentence in itself. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why anything else needs to be said. This topic is very intense, and we understand that it's really long, and there is a huge amount.
I like what, was it Neha?
Yeah, she said something earlier.
Yeah. I like what she just said. The lack of respect is the root cause of it all. And I absolutely 1,000% agree with that. And it goes back to, we did an episode on abuse a few weeks ago, and a lot of it does go back to that and the way women are treated. And I was telling Shikha this when we were getting ready for our show. Women are truly not treated like human beings.
They're second class.
If you are really going to say that your solution is to either kill them or marry them off at 13, then to be quite honest, like, I don't even think you think that I'm a human being.
No.
Like, forget respect. Like, forget respect.
Right?
Yeah, I'm just an inanimate object. I might as well be my cell phone.
Yes.
You have absolutely no respect for me as another human being. And to me, like, what like, we're supposed to be like, you know, the owners of the home. We're supposed to take care of, you know, like the family. We're supposed to raise children. How can you expect all of that stuff from us and then treat us like we're not even human beings? Like, that's what I grapple with. I mean, how do these people have these unrealistic expectations as far as the way women should be treated?
Unfortunately, these expectations and these thought processes come from a very archaic society that is being taken forward. And we have this huge debate that runs. We said, what's missing? Mm-hmm. Really, what are these people missing? Are they missing education? Are they just caught up in what will people say? Are they just caught up in false honor of what really is honorable in your house? Because I'm telling you, the rapist is not considered at fault, right? He hasn't dishonored the family by disrespecting another woman or many women.
Right.
It's the woman who's been raped, or the woman who is eve teased, or the woman who is wearing jeans versus an Indian outfit or not covering her head, whose character is basically questioned. It's your fault. Absolutely. You look like this. You smiled at me when you walked by. You carried a cell phone. You left the house to have fun. You didn't stay home and, you know, fix the beds and make dishes and make food for your brother and your father. You didn't cook and serve the men in your family before you ate. You sat down with them and did it. It's your character that's flawed.
Yep.
And that is the problem, you guys. You can give education to everyone, and I'm not saying that it doesn't help. I absolutely believe education is a huge part of growth, personal and professional growth. But you have to change what you are teaching your children. And I'd like to take it to another level. Not only do you need to change what you are teaching your children, you need to step up and speak against your elders. You need to step up and speak against the people of older generations who think they're just making passing comments versus just saying, I can't change his mentality anyways. He's 60, he's 70, he's 50. I don't care how old he is.
It does not matter.
That's what needs to change.
Saying something makes the difference. Because even if they don't listen, well, that's on them. But you as an individual can still do something about it. And that I truly believe that, because people ask, like, well, what can we do? You know, because there's nothing we can do to stop it. Okay, yeah, one person, yeah, I'm not going to be able to go to India and be able to change an entire mindset that's been around for years and years and years. But I still have a voice. You still have a voice. As long as we can exercise those voices,
as long as we continue to have this conversation, right? What is the message? I want a call to action. We started this show when we were thinking about it. We said, what's going to be our call to action? Because all of us, we do our best to share our Facebook post, any sort of social media post when these type of acts occur, correct? We do our best to sign the petitions that need to be signed. We go to those vigils that need to be, that we need to go to. But what is it doing? Where is the root of the problem? How are we solving this ourselves? When that vigil ends, that strike ends, that petition is signed, and nothing is done from that point forward, what do we do? I ask you, my audience, what do we do? What are your suggestions?
One thing I did also want to mention, because we have been talking about India, and obviously it's a very intense topic over there, but let's not forget about what happens in the United States.
Absolutely not.
I'm sure everyone's heard of what happened to the Stanford swimmer back in 2015, who, in case you guys didn't catch that, he raped a girl at a party behind a dumpster, and she was completely unconscious. A biker actually was biking by and realized that the girl was unconscious, and he called out to the guy. He just said, hey, and then he bolted, and then the biker pedaled towards him, caught him, and then reported him to police. So he was originally sentenced to 6 months in prison, got out after 3 on good behavior.
Good behavior.
Yeah. And then there was a lot of controversy about that too. There was controversy two ways, right? So one of them was, okay, how did he just get out after 3 months? And then the other side was, how did he get convicted at all?
That was the part that's surprising.
Surprising, right?
Yeah.
Because this is happening in the United States. But there are still people that said, I don't understand why he had to serve any time in jail. So if that is a problem here, then imagine how big of a problem it is in the rest of the world. Yeah. This is a world problem. This is not something that's going to go away just overnight. This is something that needs to continue to be made noise about. We need to continue to opening our mouths and speaking about it. And that's one of the things that I loved about the Me Too campaign, was women taking a step forward and finally sharing what they went through and their experiences. I went to a seminar yesterday, and there was an entrepreneur there who said, today in the workplace, if a guy tries to pull any kind of crap that he might have tried to pull in the 70s or even the 80s or maybe 90s, nowadays with the internet, if a guy tries to tell a woman, oh, you want a promotion? Well, you might have to do stuff to get your promotion. Oh, I love what he said. You know what he said?
What did he say?
He said the woman will rip your head off, clean out your skull, and then drink her coffee from it.
Oh.
I loved that.
Wow.
And
that's the type of women we need. And those are the type of responses we need.
Those are the kinds of men that we need in the world, to empower not just women, but to empower other men and to teach other men that, you know, this is how you treat a woman. This is how women should be respected. And this is what our society needs to do going forward. We need more men to take a stand and to,
absolutely, you know, which is why it also starts at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
We don't want the father, the brother, the uncle to be embarrassed of the woman in their house that was raped or abused or taken advantage of. And instead of supporting her and helping her get through it and taking down the men who did it to her. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. Take down the ones who hurt her, not disown her and get rid of her. Yes. Because now you are stained. Your family is stained. You need to stand up for your women. Men, you need to stand up for the women you love. Men, you need to stop your boyfriends and your guy friends when they make disgusting jokes about women. When women are walking by and they're eve teasing, you need to stop that. And you need to understand that no means no. And you know what? I'm going to take it back a step. Christina mentioned in our abuse episode a few weeks ago, we talked about many of these issues. And one issue which Neha again brings up is Indian men in our household see how our fathers treat our mothers and our sisters, right? And so our brothers grow up seeing this, and they think that women are objects, and it's okay to treat any woman as an object. So basically, you are depriving women of their basic rights. Even if a woman, the Nirbhaya case, she was a doctor. So even if she's an educated woman who's managed to walk herself out of a society that's backwards with archaic ideologies and try to take a step forward for the good to help society, even she's considered weak. Even she is attacked. So no matter, we can get out there and I can scream and yell and beg you guys to take a stance and do it on an everyday basis. Stand up to how you see people in your household be treated. Stand up to your friends who are not treating people right. Stand up to your brother who's not doing right by his girlfriend or any other girl. And stand up for yourself, most importantly. Do not let anyone talk to you in a way that you shouldn't be spoken to. And what's very interesting is I keep hearing that, especially with these quotes that we read you earlier, because some of these quotes were by young girls as well. And they're saying that we are inviting rape. We are inviting rape by what we wear and what we say. And I'm not saying we do that, but I'm curious. What are we doing, guys? Where is the disconnect in communication? What are we doing that is sending a message that we want to be raped? Is it something we're doing? Or is it what you are just perceiving because it's convenient?
I want to go back real quick to the education piece, because I did see a comment on there about education. And I mean, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think that we do need more education, but at the same time, think about, I forgot his name, Brock Turner from Stanford. That guy is obviously educated. I don't know how much more educated you can be. The guy went to Stanford. So what's his deal? You know, the guy obviously grew up in the Bay Area, maybe, or he went to school in the Bay Area, one of the most innovative, forward-thinking cities in the world.
An Ivy League school.
Yeah, that is an Ivy League school. Yeah. So I personally don't think that it's education that's missing. I truly believe, and this is what we said very early on in the show, this goes back to what we are nurtured, what we are taught growing up, what we hear, what we hear our friends say, what we see on TV, what we see on social media. These are all external factors that play an even bigger role in social development. If you think about it, if you go to school and you learn maybe, you know, a few things, and then you come home and you hear your grandparents talking about something, you hear your parents, your siblings, you go online and you see all this stuff, it's very difficult to actually pay attention to what you're learning in school. You're going to listen to all the social norms that are present in your home because that's what you're exposed to 24/7. So no, I think education is a bit of it, but I think more than anything, it is actually taking that stance and saying, don't treat her that way, or this isn't right, or calling out your brother for being a bad boyfriend. You know, it's those things that we need to do to change the way society thinks about how women should be treated.
You know, it's entitlement.
Yes,
is what it is. It's these men who feel entitled to do those things to women. They think it's their right,
but it's so true.
It's their right. Desire and their need for control, to control their basic rights, to control their sexual desires, to control what they can or cannot wear, to control when they can or cannot leave the house, to control who they can or cannot talk to control their everyday basic rights while they roam free on the streets, doing whatever they want because they're entitled. Whether you are educated or not, whether you grew up in a fantastic family and there's just something wrong up here, it's the entitlement.
It is completely the entitlement. This goes back to us being inanimate objects.
Yes.
We are not human beings.
That says, it's embarrassing not only as an Indian, but for men such as myself of Indian descent. These individuals who perform such acts have ruined the impression of all Indian men that both live in India and other countries. And you know what?
I love that he said that.
It's very true.
It is very true. And I'm going to say something, and I'm going to be putting a lot of people on blast right now. But on my Instagram, all of the creepy comments come from Indian guys.
Yes.
It's never anybody else. It's always Indian guys. And our friend Vikas down in LA, he tells me all the time, he's like, I can't understand people like that. How can you say to a random woman, how can you make these kind of inappropriate comments to her? What if that was your sister? What if that was your mom?
But here's the problem. If it was their sister or mom, they would say to their sister and mom that you invited it. What did you do? Did you smile at him?
Yeah, what did you do?
Wave? What did you do to invite it? Right? So it doesn't matter who the woman is. It's their fault. It's the woman's fault.
Woman's fault.
So that's what I say when I go back to the woman is apparently the honor of the family. The woman is the one who is disowned, killed, sold off per convenience. Because they are the problem. It's not the men committing the acts. It's the women inviting those acts. And the men are saying, why are we being punished for it? They asked for it. Why did they get to roam freely? I ask you guys, what does freedom mean in that country?
Yeah.
What does freedom mean to any woman who thinks that she has now been raped, whether that's in India or the US, and she has to live with those thoughts and that repetition and that memory and that visual in her mind? And for God knows how long, till she's over it.
Yeah.
She's not free. She's not free from those thoughts. She's not free from that fear. So what freedom are these men talking about?
And even living in this country, I mean, I have never been raped. I mean, thankfully. But when I walk around in the city, I'm always very, very vigilant. I'm always very cautious about where I am. I will not walk down dark alleys. I'm very, very careful. I don't talk to random people. And like, that's so sad that we have to be like that. But I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of women right now. We're always careful because you never know who's out there to get you. And that's a very sad mentality to have.
All women.
And this is even in this country. Yes. So I can't imagine what it's even like in India.
I mean, I carry like mace and pepper spray in my purse. I know most of the women I know do. I've watched every safety video that you can think of coming out of a parking garage, not parking next to a van. I mean, anything you can potentially
lock your car door if you're sitting in your car.
I mean, literally, and you know what? Men are not watching these. Men are not watching these videos.
They're walking around roaming free past 10 o'clock.
We're wondering if we're leaving a club or a restaurant at 2 a.m., how do we make it to that parking garage okay? Or if we need to work late in San Francisco or a place that has public transportation, is it safe to take BART after 10? Should I really do that?
Oh, I never take BART after 10.
Why do we debate that?
I never take BART after. I will take an Uber home.
Right? But why do we debate that? Forget, even in Uber, how many cases?
Oh, yeah. Now there's an app called, I think it's called Safe Alert or something. I saw an ad for this, and the girl is literally in the backseat of her Uber car. And the app is supposed to be, if you're in the car and your Uber driver ends up being sketch or ends up being a perv or a creep or a rapist, you can hold the button down and then the cops will come to you. But the fact that we even have apps like that now, I mean, seriously? Is this where the world has gone? Like, I'm just absolutely baffled.
This is where education, money, privilege, new technology, this is what it's brought us. It's brought us more, it's brought men and women, it's brought more fear to women and savvier ways for men to do things, right? I just don't understand. What are we moving forward towards in this world if we are afraid of our basic rights, if we're afraid of walking down the street, if we're afraid of wearing a dress too short or a top too low and assuming that that's giving a message to somebody that, hey, you know what, this is what we want.
This topic really, really, really saddens me because I even think about situations like on college campuses where, you know, you're 18, you've finally gone away for school, you've made this amazing achievement, you've got into college, you just want to have fun. You go to a party and you get really drunk and then you get raped. I mean, what kind of experience is that for someone?
It's one you asked for because you were drunk and you couldn't make a conscious decision.
Yeah,
you didn't know what you were doing.
Think about ladies. I mean, I know that there are.
I'm being sarcastic for those of you who didn't get that. Like, that's a terrible thing.
Yeah. But that could happen to anybody because I honestly think about how I was when I was in college, and I was so happy-go-lucky. I would go to parties all the time. I would get drunk all the time, and I'm now doing this show. I'm like, wow, I got so lucky. And I think that nothing happened to me. And I think about how many girls continue to go to parties all the time that get lucky and then some don't. And that's a very, very, you know, like.
Nina said something really good, and it's something I mentioned in conversation off camera to Christina. She said, some of these people, though, are just sick in the head and they need help. And I agree. Sometimes it's not the education and it's not the society and it's not the nature versus nurture.
Agree.
It's just professional help that's needed. It doesn't discount them. It does not give them a reason or an excuse. We were really just trying to come to what is the root of this and how do we solve it? So my call to action to you all as we wrap up this show today is message us, talk to us, tell us what's a good call to action.
Yeah,
how do we handle this? How do we keep talking about this? What do we do?
And one quote that I did want to leave you guys with today, because I think it was really uplifting. I really loved when she gave the speech at the Golden Globes earlier this year. I cried when I watched it, and I actually shared it on social media because I liked it that much. And it was the speech that Oprah gave when she won the Cecil B. something award at the end. I'm sorry, I don't know the actual name.
There's a very interesting thing that just came up, and it said, "A little knowledge is a dangerous thing." I want more. What does that mean? A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. If you can respond, that'd be great.
I'm gonna get into the quote.
Yes, please.
So this isn't everything that she said in the speech, but I thought this one part of the quote was extremely powerful, and I think it's worth mentioning. A new day is on the horizon, and this is in response to the Me Too campaign. A new day is on the horizon, and when that new day finally dawns, it will be because of a lot of magnificent women, many of whom are in this room today, and for this show, many of who are on this show today, and pretty phenomenal men that are also on the show today, fighting hard to make sure that they become the leaders who take us to the time so that no one ever has to say "Me Too" again. And I just think that that's such a powerful statement for Oprah to make. And it's true. Powerful women, but powerful men also need to be working very closely together on this cause.
This is a humanitarian act.
This is a humanitarian act, yes. And I believe the more we continue to speak out against it and not holding it in is the first step to seeing any kind of change happen in the world.
We really thank you for joining in today. The discussion is not over. Rudra, he says, you were laughing. It's something serious. I wasn't laughing at all at, if you thought I was laughing at that. I wasn't. I just wanted to try to understand what you meant. I apologize if that's how it came across. What we do want to say is that the conversation does not end here. We're going to be talking about many different issues within this topic itself and see where we can raise awareness. We thank you for joining. We will be back here next week at noon on ClassyGlam, and we look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.